You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Zach Bechtold and Matt Franks. If you'd like to learn more about the Bearded Theologians, you can go online at beardedtheologians.com, where we have past podcasts, blogs, and a couple items for sale. So check us out, beardedtheologians.com. Thank you for listening, and enjoy this week's show. You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Matt Franks
and Zach Bechtold.
So this week on the Beardcast, we're going to look at the Transfiguration story in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 9, verses 2 through 9. And so we'll do what we typically do on this podcast and let Zach find his way through Scripture and read it. And let's get going here.
I'll just read till I quit reading. See what happens. Not a good track record here lately. Anyways, if you'll join with the Gospel of Mark, chapter 9, verses 2 through 9. 6 days later, Jesus took Peter, James, and John and brought them to the top of a very high mountain where they were alone. He was transformed in front of them, and his clothes were amazingly bright, brighter than if they had been bleached white. Elijah and Moses appeared and were talking with Jesus. Peter reacted to all of this by saying to Jesus, "Rabbi, it's good that we're here. Let's make 3 shrines, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." He said this because he didn't know how to respond, for the 3 of them were terrified. Then a cloud overshadowed them, and a voice spoke from the cloud. "This is my son, whom I dearly love. Listen to him." Suddenly, looking around, they no longer saw anyone with them except Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, he ordered them not to tell anyone what they had seen until after the human one had risen from the dead. So, Matt, there's a lot here. Obviously, this is the Transfiguration story, and there's a lot to pull out from it. If you're preaching on it, or if you're just digging through it like we are. So, what sticks out to you first?
So, anytime I read this story, and especially in the context of the Gospel of Mark, it's an orientation for me, because from this point on, it's the journey to the cross. Everything that's mattering from this point on is the journey to the cross. And so from here on, like, the orientation really for Jesus, the focus is to Jesus, is to his death and resurrection. And he knows this. Like, I mean, we can't play dumb here and assume that Jesus didn't know where he was going the last time he was going into Jerusalem. Like, we can't, he sets it up so well.
Right. And you get that at the end of verse 9 there of don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite things Jesus says. Don't tell anyone.
And that's a major theme of the Gospel of Mark is this
Absolutely.
idea of this mysterious Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
Not to really tell anybody like who I am, like understand that the bigger show's at the end. Like, come on, guys,
Right.
like, just stay with me. Like, these are
Right.
small things. Like, the big show's coming at the end. Just bear with me for a little bit.
And that's what I love about Mark and John, right? The Gospel of Mark and the Gospel of John. You have that don't tell anyone in Mark, and then the Gospel of John's like, I'm here. let's get to work. Let's do the thing.
Well, and I think about this event, and I think about if I were one of the characters in this event, how would I respond? And I think
Right.
Peter's response is like the perfect response for someone who is truly connected spiritually, and being like, all right, so like we need to memorialize this, and like we need to like remember this, and like not only that, like, hey, remember Elijah and Moses, and like oh my gosh, like we need to create a space to remember this moment.
And, right. And we're putting plaques on it, and kids can't come in, and and the carpet will never be changed.
And like nobody will be able to come here again. Like,
that's right.
We're just gonna memorialize it.
That's right.
And like, I love that line in verse 6. He said this because he didn't know how to respond, for we were terrified.
Right.
I mean,
of course he was, right?
I mean, he had to process it somehow, and he processed it.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, it's like, and I can imagine the scene. Like, here, Peter's like getting all busy and like trying to organize everybody, get everybody like situated, and Jesus is just over there shaking his head, like, all right, like, gosh, like, you know.
Well, and that's the thing. That's what I love about Peter so much. He's one of my favorite. All of the disciples are very, very real and very, very human, in their actions and the things they say. But Peter often gets that bad rap of constantly being like, "What do we do? What did Jesus just say? I don't know how to respond." And we see that here with Peter going, I don't know, but let's do this." Which, like you said, we often find ourselves of in that situation all throughout our life, much less in a spiritual way. But we get to this place of I don't know what to do with this. And so we often do what's comfortable, what we know. And for Peter, that was you pile some rocks on top of each other and you memorialize it, right? And that's Jacob's well, or that's this, or that, this is the place where Jesus showed us, right? Um, so yeah, that sticks out to me really, really fondly as well, and just kind of this human moment. The other thing, and it may just because I preached on it Sunday, that really sticks out to me is in the midst of this interaction, you have the clouds open up again, and a voice saying, "This is my son, whom I dearly love. Listen to him." Which is kind of a callback to not kind of, it's a callback to the baptism of Jesus there at the beginning of Mark, when he comes up out of the water. The dove, spirit like a dove descends upon him. The clouds, the heavens tear open, and the voice says, "This is my son, whom I dearly love, and he brings me joy." And this one, listen to him.
Well, and
I love that tie-in.
and I think it's the kind of the orientation and the remembrance of the authority that is given by God to Jesus.
Right.
That he has this authority, and we should be listening to him. Of course, by this point, I mean, he's done so many great things. You would have think that they would have really been able to like understand, and I think they did.
Right.
Like, I think
but you see that with Peter, they're going, "I don't know what to do." Right. So there's still that tension of maybe not being sure or not knowing, but just how do we process this?
Well, would you say that it's more of a maybe he knew what to do, but maybe he didn't feel equipped to do what he was thinking he should do? And how often in the church do we you and I do this all the time with people, like, what I call it like that conversation, usually when I start out like, "Hey, I'd really like for you to pray about this." And it's going to be that big spiritual thing that will either push or pull or help people grow in their life and their faith, and really just like, I really want you to respond yes, but like I really want you to feel like you have, and I love how in this telling of the story, that definitely the mystery's there, and they're in the fullness of this, and they like take it in, right? And sometimes I think that they miss those opportunities for that, whatever that may mean. And but here they're taking it in, and of course they're having a natural response. I mean, if they were doing this today, it would be quick, get our phones out and let's broadcast.
100%, right? Yeah.
I mean, if it would have been like when we were younger, it would have been like, let's make it a t-shirt. I mean,
exactly.
like and we have those moments in our lives when we come across these sacred and holy moments and we don't know what to do with them.
Right. But we want to hold on to them and remember them, right? So
yes.
give me something tangible. I think that's Peter's thing, right? Give me something tangible that I can come back to, that I can remember this, that when we can share, let's bring people here.
Yeah. And so we can tell them the story and remember like this moment, the sacred moment.
Right.
And I think there's some fruit in that in our spiritual lives and journey. Like that's necessary.
It is. I mean, how many of us go to the Holy Land, right? Yeah, or go to Rome, or go to these places that are significant to us in any way.
But I think that the thing I want people to remember, and even us as preachers, and when we preach on this, that it's the next thing is really what this is driving them towards. That it's not just the quietness of this and the holy moment of this. Jesus is reminding him not to tell anybody about the Son of Man, that this had happened, but to hold on to it for that proper time. And I think that in our spiritual lives and our journeys, that there are some things that happen and we don't know how to explain them. And if we hold on to them for just a little bit, it will manifest itself in such a way that it will be like, oh yeah, like that makes perfectly good sense why this happened in this time. And I made it through, or I survived, or, we can definitely look at this pandemic time that we're in, um, and see how we've been asked to look at sacred and holy in a little bit different light. And so then now after this, how can we move forward and move on? I think that that's a good question to wrestle with it in this time that we're in.
Right. Well, and I think so. I think this is a great reminder for us, especially in our current society and culture today, where we are able to broadcast our thoughts and experiences at any moment of the day. That reminder to, hey, there's some things to hold close, and that there's a time and a place for that to share. And I think that's what Jesus is reminding. That's a constant theme throughout at least Matthew, Mark, and Luke, of don't tell anyone. It's not this go and tell all the people all the things I'm doing so they'll want to see more. It's let's hold these things close so that we can do the things that are at hand. Are you a cat? For people listening to the podcast, Matt Franks is playing with filters and my very important thoughts. But it's just that moment of, when and where do we share these experiences that we have, and how do we make them, one, remain significant and powerful to us, but share them with folks in a way that's significant and powerful for them, and not getting lost in the constant feeds of social media or the things that we're sharing constantly. How do we keep the sacred and important there in front of us?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. The other side of that story, it's not about making it for ourselves, but it is about sharing our experiences with people, and be willing to share, like, where we've seen God, where we've wrestled with God. Right. And I have to be honest with you, like, I think that that's the one thing that Christianity has really struggled with in the last few years. Something I've noticed, and I didn't grow up in the church, but I can tell you from what I see now, I don't see people sharing their faith like they should. And even with what's going on, like, in our world, like, we have a platform to do it in such a way that can be life, like, it can change the world. I really do believe that.
Well, and it goes back to what you said earlier of so many, most of us, even pastors included, don't feel equipped. It's not the lack of empowerment. It's the not feeling equipped to do these things for a lot of reasons, good, bad, right, and wrong. We have shifted in that culture, and a lot of that focus has been placed on the pastor rather than all of us. And I think a lot of the work that you and I do, I feel comfortable speaking for you on this, is we're trying to give that empowerment back, that encouragement back, that equipping people to go, no, whatever you do, share the gospel, share love, do it through your actions, do it in these ways. We're all called to this. Some of us are called to do it from a pulpit and our actions. Well, we all are, because we all have different pulpits, right? But some of us are called to lead the church, and some of us are called just to lead in our everyday lives. And we need that. It can't just be clergy. It can't just be pastors.
So I think a good thing to land on here is we want to encourage you that you are equipped and you have what it takes, and you're going to have bumps and bruises along the way. That's 100%. How we grow.
And you're gonna have moments where you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. So build a shrine and enjoy life, and love Jesus. And
that's right.
That's really what we really want you to do. We want to thank you for listening today. We want to encourage you to like and share us. Also, don't forget to however you listen to us, the more you give us 5 stars, and then just write a review. It can even be a silly review. That helps us get our word out there about us, and we need you to help get our word out. I think Zach and I do a good job, but the more people that share about us, the better off we are. But that's not why we do this. We do this because Zach and I enjoy talking about this stuff together, and we've had a good time doing it. And who knew that we would have been cool before this was cool? So for the Bearded Theologians, I'm Matt Franks.
I'm Zach Bechtold. Thanks for checking us out.
First, guys, I want you to subscribe and like this video, and push that thumbs up.
Thank you for listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on all social media outlets. You can check out old episodes and more information at beardedtheologians.com. Thanks for checking us out.